Tony Diaz, writer. Well, actually, I've known the organizers for a long time, and I've been involved in education. But besides being a writer and professor, I'm also an activist. So for me, education is one of the key components. So I was very happy to be invited, but also be a part of this dialogue on what education is going to look like. Well, 17 years ago, and I know I look way too young to have started something 17 years ago, I was happy to be the founder of Nuestra Palabra, Latino Writers Having Their Say. And I know how grassroots work. I remember people thinking that Latinos don't care about literature, there's not enough Latino writers. We knew they were wrong. It was wonderful that we assembled at the Party Hall at Chapultepec restaurant and kept growing and never looked back. So from those families, those writers getting together in that restaurant, we wound up creating the biggest book fairs in Texas, a radio show, and some of those young people are now PhDs, are nationally published authors, engineers, lawyers, and of course, once Arizona banned Mexican Studies in 2012, 5 of those leaders joined me to create the Libre Traficante movement because we said we saw what literature does in our community, how powerful it is, and we could tell that Arizona trying to prohibit our youth from having access to the books. We knew what was going on. They wanted to discourage them. They didn't want them to be able to gain the knowledge that would help them prosper. And we said, no way. So we became book smugglers. And I'm very happy to say that I was one of the organizers of the Libre Traficante movement that basically created a caravan that had an 8-city tour, bringing books donated from around the country to the students of Tucson who were asking for the books back. So since that time, having been nationally published, we made international, national news. That's all wonderful, but I want to bring it all back home to our backyard. So I'm also here to announce that I'm running for Aldine School Board Position 1. So it's my first campaign, but it's what we do. We organize, we use images, words, and to me, it's a great time to be Mexican-American, to be Chicano, to be Latino here, because we're really needed, but we have all the skills necessary to really create a renaissance for everybody. Wow, is this a 2-hour long interview? Because for me to explain all the barriers, well, how about this? It would take a long time. And also there's a lot of different barriers, especially like social policy, but I'll tell you ways to cure it. If we put books in people's hands, if we put books in young people's hands and thrill them with literature like we did with Nuestra Palabra, they get engaged in learning. All of a sudden, they became active in the learning process. And more importantly, they start to write their own stories and share their own stories. That's what I'm going to bring to the Aldine School District. I want to create a model that will be followed throughout the state. That's the greatest way to get schools changed and bringing the families back in. Because if we're showcasing someone's son or daughter, they're going to get more engaged. And what I want to happen is I want the MacArthur writers to all of a sudden be going to Eisenhower and to Hambrick Middle School. I want there to be a tour like we've been doing with Nuestra Palabra. And all of a sudden you've got the family engaged again. It's as simple as that. Let's increase the graduation rates. Let's get the families back involved. That's going to stem the dropout rate. And I promise when you come back and videotape me again, once I'm on the school board, you're going to see that we've changed the dropout rate. We've increased the graduation rate, and we've created scholars, and families will be loving the school, and it'll be blossoming. It's a true renaissance that we'd love to share with everyone else. Exactly. It's education collaboration because we've seen it. We've done it. With Nuestra Palabra, we had zero financial capital, but millions of dollars in cultural capital. And it's us asking the community what they want, gaining their trust, acting on it, delivering, and going back again and again and again. Not many places know how to do that. You'll hear commercial enterprises just saying, well, we want to deliver to them. Everything in the middle is what we do as artists. We cultivate that whole area in the middle, and that's what's key right now. And that's what we're good at. I think what people don't quite understand is that we've actually come to a point where everything we once used to merely survive will now help us thrive. Well, if people don't know, I'm hoping by the time you're watching this, the ban in Arizona against Mexican Studies has been lifted. There's a young Chicana, Maya Arce, who's suing the state of Arizona. Someday when you're watching this, we need to look back and say, wow, that was happening. It's going on right now. But what we decided was, you know what? We need to defy that. So the Libre Traficantes did a caravan, and we made sure to get books into the community. We did underground libraries. We would go in taco trucks to communities to give books. We've got the Southwest Workers Union that has an underground libro traffic in the library. They have a bike that they've tricked out with books as well to get into the community. So we've come up with a lot of creative ways. And I know what happens when someone who's a great writer and looks like you hands you a book that touches your heart. You're changed for life. And that's a great thing. And we want that to happen for all our youth. We want to deliver the American dream for everybody's kids. We want everyone to tell the story. And I'm so proud that it's going to be Mexican Americans doing it for everybody at this time.